DC and Grant Morrison's take on Batman Deadpool just brought back Darkclaw from the Amalgam universe, and it's insane. Let's get into it. What's up, everybody? DC's take on Batman Deadpool has officially hit comic shops, and we are here to break it all down for you. And like I said from the very beginning, the Amalgam universe makes an appearance, specifically Darkclaw, and we're going to show you how that happens because it is wild. There are also several other stories inside this book, including a Constantine Doctor Strange crossover that is awesome. But for this video, we're going to focus on the story that's centered around Batman and the Merc with the mouth. And it opens up on the very first page with a nod to the JLA Avengers crossover from 2003. You see, in the JLA Avengers crossover by Kurt Busiek, we see Marvel's cosmic god Eternity and DC's cosmic goddess Kismet fall in love and come together. And that is used to explain why the two universes or worlds are colliding. Well, at the end of that story, Hal Jordan merges with Spectre and rips the two universes apart, basically ripping the two cosmic lovers apart and ending their love story. But on the opening page of this Batman Deadpool #1, we see the two have found each other yet again at Anthropomorpho's Big Bang Bang Singularities bar. And the comic tells us, once upon a would you just imagine, two lonely universes bopping solo in the void until a glance askance in the cosmic dance became a chance for romance. And one thing led to another, and all roads led to Gotham. In other words, these two are back at it, and it's being used as the catalyst yet again for these two worlds colliding. And for those of you who don't know who Anthropomorpho is, in the Marvel Universe, he's the head of a realm called the Dimension of Manifestations, which is where cosmic entities go to have their bodies or avatars created. So to state the obvious, cosmic entities are like spirits, and they go to the Dimension of Manifestations where Anthropomorpho helps them get an avatar or a body to operate in. It's actually a little known corner of the Marvel Universe, and maybe we'll get into that in a future video, but not today. Anyway, on the next page, we are taken to Gotham City, where we find a distraught Victor Gover sitting in his office staring at a picture frame. And he says, "I know you're there, Batman. Why do you think I'm so scared? I can't even pee my pants like I oughta." We then see Batman sitting in the window leering over Victor as Victor continues to say, "I know I did wrong. I deserve whatever I got coming, but this, not her. They used her to get to me, and I failed her. Now she's dead, and it's all my fault." We then see that music is playing as Victor continues, and this is our song. And oh God, we were getting married. Everything's gone wrong. She's gone, and nothing can bring her back. Not even you. A sympathetic Batman then puts his hand on Victor's shoulder and says, "Maybe not, but maybe you can put that eidetic memory of yours to work. Victor, tell me exactly what you saw that day and where. I'll make sure Waller's people don't get away with it." We then cut to Batman arriving in a jungle in Greece as he tells someone over comms, "Whatever happens, do not engage until we know what we're dealing with." Victor Gover said that this was the last known location of the target, but somebody got here ahead of us. Wait for my signal. He then jumps down from the canopy to the jungle floor, and we see that it's littered with corpses. Batman then continues to say over comms, "I mean that. The target artifact has potential reality twisting capabilities." He then looks over the corpses and says, "Checkmate soldiers running errands for Amanda Waller, like Gover said. They already paid the price, and something killed these were creatures." He then spots a battering in a wall, but he says it's not one of mine. Then on the next panel, we see that Eternity and Kismet are now making out, which means it's about to get weird. And like clockwork, on the next page, we find Deadpool carrying an arrow-ridden Batman in a clear homage to the Death in the Family story, and the iconic image of Batman carrying the murdered body of Jason Todd Robin. All while Deadpool says, "Dear Lord, I tried to warn him something like this would happen." We then immediately jump to Deadpool fighting some cartoon ninjas in some facility as he says, "I know, before you get all judgy, that attention-grabbing opener comes with full context," which is Deadpool's way of saying he's going to explain it. And as he continues to blast and chop up these cartoon ninjas, he says, "We're not there yet is all. This is flashback slow-mo." He then looks straight at the camera and reaches out to readers saying, "Put your hand in the hand of the man who calmed the waters. I'll show you how it all went down. Cross this guy's heart and hope to die at dawn," whatever that means. But this is Grant Morrison, so this is going to be a wild one, gang. Anyway, we flip the page to find Deadpool standing in a pool of blood of these mutilated cartoon ninjas saying, breathing, heavy breathing, labored, choppy, lustful. He then looks around and says, "That's one wall, two walls, three walls. Oh my God." And he turns and faces us saying, "I can see you." So clearly this is being written in classic Deadpool style. I'm talking about the old school stuff where he broke the fourth wall all all the time. But here's the thing, he also could be referencing what's going on between eternity and Kismet. Either way, he says, maybe I should come back later, or maybe you'd prefer me to pose, as he bends over and looks through his legs at the ducks who have now emerged and are floating on top of the pool of blood behind him. He then says, talk about mixed signals. Hey, spawn of Satan, what's with all the ticking? Followed by the ducks exploding and blasting him through the wall behind him. He then lands in an adjacent room and clearly at the feet of Batman, at which point he looks up and says to him, I'm the kind of guy you expect to find in a budget hell like this. What sickening crime brought you here, sis? We then see Batman holding both of Deadpool's blown off legs as he tells him, I'm sorry, I think these are yours. Deadpool responds, no worries, we decided on a trial separation. Between you and me, it's working out. Keep them as novelty earrings. I'm good. I was designed to function without feet. The indestructible boots I'll hang on to. Which of course is a very loving jab at Rob Liefeld's notorious inability to draw feet. Anyway, we then see Batman standing in front of a giant white owl statue that says play attention on it. As he tells Deadpool, healing factor looks painful. To which Deadpool replies, it is. Yeah, very. I'm a smile though your heart is breaking kind of guy, but hey, thanks for asking. It confirms something I've been wondering about you. Batman then reaches over to a piano next to him while saying, funny you should say that. Let me ask you something else. Does the name Deathstroke mean anything to you? Batman then turns around as Deadpool replies, Deathstroke? Let me guess. It's a technical term in Olympic snuff swimming, a lethal self-abuse technique from the Kama Sutra? At which point Batman smirks because he knows Deadpool's about to go on the attack, and he tells him, not Slade Wilson then. Good news. Followed by blocking Deadpool's katana with his gauntlet and then pummeling Deadpool into the ground with a single punch. We then see Deadpool pummeled on the ground as Batman walks away saying, almost had me worried for a second. Place doesn't add up. This hyper-real hallucinatory edge to everything. And he's saying this as if nothing just happened at all, but it does cause Deadpool to say, guess who's headlining this crossover? But here's where things really start to get crazy because Batman then finds a set of stairs. And as they work their way deeper into this facility, because remember the walls have been broken open, they find a room with a bunch of paraphernalia in it, including a reference to the Amalgam universe. Batman says, it reminds me of the labyrinth of the Court of Owls. To which Deadpool replies, I'd say we've been no-clipped into liminal Las Vegas. But that's just because my cultural references are marginally more up to date than yours. Look, you've got me all wrong. I had to make sure you're not some weirdo in cosplay. Batman then states the obvious by responding, by cutting my head off? You carry weapons that kill people. You have a bad guy name. But Deadpool jumps in saying, I think you'll find it's a morally ambiguous anti-hero name. Somehow I do way more good than bad. You were fine with this before. And in true Batman fashion, as Deadpool's rambling, he's walking around the room looking for clues and picking up items he might find useful. Batman then says, multiverse then. Some copy or echo of the original. If you're not Slade Wilson, not Deathstroke. But this continues to irritate Deadpool and he says, stop saying that. It's like you've invented a new obscenity. I'm Wade Wilson. What aid? Deadpool. I'm totally my own thing. I thought we moved on to the grudging mutual respect segment of our relationship arc. You won't hear me saying you must be some version of Moon Knight or Nighthawk, Hawk Owl. But Batman, who is clearly unaffected by any of this, just says, I'm Batman. And obviously, unlike Deadpool actually being a ripoff of Slade Wilson Deathstroke, Batman can't be a ripoff of Moon Knight. Moon Knight is a very different character, but he definitely takes some aspects from Batman. It's the other way around. Anyway, Batman then finds a swan paddle boat on some kind of Jokerized tunnel of love as Deadpool continues to say, whoever you are, if this is some elaborate escape room, we need to learn to work together all over again, like the Spice Girls. And Batman responds, and people everywhere. Put that fresh set of feet to work. Let's pedal, partner. Which of course excites Deadpool because if we know anything, it's that he loves a good team up. But it also tells us that this Batman and Deadpool don't remember each other from the previous issue. Anyway, we then see them in the paddle boat and they're coming out of the tunnel as Deadpool is just continuing to hit Batman with a barrage of nonsense. He's telling him, no way, you? I'd have gambled everything on Unforgiven. The outlaw Josie Wales, huh? Anyway, wrong. Would I borrow my superhero name from the final Dirty Harry movie, which we've just agreed is in nobody's top 10 Clints? Can I say something? My incessant inane chatter usually drives men insane, but you're a tough gig. And Batman is just sitting there like a father driving a minivan on a family road trip, and he says, I fought crime alongside a hyperactive kid for years. My arch enemy is a murderous, disfigured clown. have you been talking this whole time? Basically saying that Batman has an incredible ability to separate signal from just noise. Anyway, we then see that as they emerge from the tunnel, they're surrounded by a bunch of buildings, and Deadpool continues to say, "Place gives me the willies." And wow, those willies have willies of their own, right? You ever get the feeling you're being watched? I do all the time. It's a big responsibility, giving these filthy voyeurs their money's worth, you know? And of course, he's talking about you and me, the readers, but Batman then starts hearing music and he says, "Singing. We're not alone in here, Wade." Deadpool then starts looking around nervously while saying, "Yeah, my spidey sense is touching me in places medical science refuses to name. And I don't even have a spidey sense. Something about these claustrophobic yet somehow nostalgic interior spaces we're trapped in, with no memory of how we got here. It's giving uncertainty vibes. Am I the bold? Are you the brave?" To which Batman responds again, "I'm Batman. I'm a detective. Look for clues, patterns. They're all around us, and I have a theory." Then as they reach the end of the canal and get out of the paddle boat, Batman says, "The piano player, the hotel reception, the map of Florida, chess. What word links them all?" As we also see them walking up a ramp towards a basketball hoop. But Deadpool then speaks for pretty much everybody when he says, "What is this, a cognitive test? Do I look like I care? Here's an idea. Why don't you save time by telling us?" But Batman is unamused, and as we see more cartoon ninjas sneaking up behind them, Batman says, "And basketball." But Deadpool acts like he's declining and says, "No, I cannot dunk. You found my kryptonite, my Achilles apple, my Adam's heel. How about you play sports, you muscle-bound privileged jock? I'm here to take lives, okay?" Followed by immediately spinning around and slapping one of the cartoon ninjas across the face, while saying, "Words to live by, loser. I'll never doubt my manifestation guru again," as we also see that he's holding the gun that Batman found earlier. And he says, "What damage do you do, little gun?" He then fires it at one of the cartoon ninjas as Batman says, "Webs?" To which Deadpool replies, "Death by happy ending. I respect your impractical code against killing bats, but these are evil cartoons, so they don't have feelings like us. That makes it funny, right?" As he ditches the gun and starts slicing and dicing these ninja cartoons with his katanas. But at that moment, Batman says, "Deadpool, quiet. I don't know you, but you know Batman." To which Deadpool replies, "I know this much. Batman has something stronger than adamantium, more powerful than a locomotive. Batman has plot armor, buddy." So Batman, who clearly has an idea of what's really going on here, says, "So maybe it's time to put that theory of mine to the test. Here, show me what you got," followed by getting completely decimated by incoming arrows from the cartoon ninjas hovering above. Deadpool then says, "Oh, that did not work out." But Batman says, "Not real, Deadpool, inside of a mind. The white owl has us." And on the next page, we are taken back out to the jungle and in the rain, where we see that it is indeed Cassandra Nova, who has her hands embedded inside the minds of both Batman and Deadpool, locking them in that mindscape. Cassandra then tells them, "That's the great white owl to you. Oh boys, can't you just try a wee bit harder for Auntie Cassandra?" As she continues to wriggle her hands around inside their skulls. Cassandra then says, "You were searching for a weapon capable of killing me once and for all, Mr. Wilson. Too bad I tricked the world's greatest detective into finding it first. But he won't tell me what he found, no matter how deep inside I go." At which point she pulls her hand away from Batman as she says, "What are you? How many Batman are there?" But as Batman is starting to come back to his senses, Cassandra reaches back into his brain saying, again, "Keys. Keys to what? Bring him back, Deadpool. I want that weapon." Deadpool then ekes out, "Don't die, Batman. If it's the last thing I do, I won't let you die, Caped Crusader." And this brings us back to the moment where we found Deadpool and Batman at the very beginning, with Deadpool carrying an arrow-ridden Batman through a corridor. Deadpool then says, "He ain't heavy. He's my brother." Context, see? And as he's grunting, he continues to say, "This guy is big. Lucky I didn't get the Absolute Henry Moore Sculpture Edition," which is an awesome reference to Absolute Batman, which is the biggest Batman we've ever seen. He's just freaking huge. Anyway, we then see that Deadpool is bringing Batman to the Lazarus Pit. As he says, last of Ra's al Ghul's lost Lazarus pools, hidden behind the walls of the creepy petting zoo. And it's the orphan's annual trip too. Gee, I hope nothing goes wrong. This might be the only way to save Batman. He'll be temporarily insane and potentially very naked, which means the only thing standing between him and an unsuspecting child's innocence is yours truly. He then drops Batman into the Lazarus pit while saying, "So it's not the upbeat Temple of Life spa vibe I hoped for, but here goes nothing." He then looks down into the Lazarus pit saying, come on, slugger." And on the next freaking page, we see Batman re-emerge from the Lazarus pit as Darkclaw. And he looks awesome as Deadpool says, "Aw, come the freak on." And as predicted, he is in fact insane. So he smashes Deadpool through yet another wall and into some kind of Jokerized funny farm. But he's also slicing and dicing Deadpool with his claws. Darkclaw then pins Deadpool to the ground, but Deadpool just pulls out one of his guns and fires it into his chest while kicking him away. But remember, as Darkclaw, Batman now has a healing factor as well. So this fight goes back and forth across several panels and it's freaking awesome. Even after Deadpool smashes Darkclaw's head with a typewriter key, he just comes right back and knocks Deadpool into the massive typewriter itself. They then end up facing each other while standing on the keys of this massive typewriter, while Deadpool says, "Main character energy much, partner?" To which Darkclaw responds, "It's never too late to win. Deadpool, we need to get her out of our minds." Deadpool then asks, "How?" To which Batman Darkclaw says, "Prep," which might be the most meta thing possible for Batman to say in this book, but Deadpool just responds by saying, "What?" But Darkclaw continues, "I don't work alone. And if there's one thing I rely on, it's this. I have a partner who never does what he's told." And on the next page, we see that it was in fact Damian Wayne Robin he was talking to over comms earlier in the story. And Damian then jumps down from Cassandra from above and starts pummeling her in the head with his Eskrima sticks. This then allows Batman and Deadpool to break free from her mindscape, with Batman saying, "Deadpool, the fortress. We need to get there before she does." Deadpool then responds, "Order me around some more, and I'm loving the mini-me," referring to Damian. But Damian doesn't like that much and he says, "Mini-me, I'm Damian, son of Batman." They then take off into the fortress, but Deadpool's looking back at Damian while saying, "He seems well adjusted," followed by commenting on the corpses that are lying all around with, "Alas, poor bestiamorphs, all they craved were forever homes in the suburbs. Great emotional support if you can overlook the undying hunger for human flesh. Half man, half monster. Toilet training was a luxury they could never afford." But Batman just cuts him off and says, "Deadpool, there." We then see there's a mysterious man standing in an archway with another Batman lying on the steps below him. Batman then asks Deadpool, "Anyone you know?" Followed by narration from this mystery man that says, "The story so far. Cassandra Nova maneuvered Batman into tracking down the lost quantum keyboard. The TVA contracted Deadpool to neutralize, behead Cassandra before she could get her hands on it," which is odd narration coming from this shadowy figure, but it's explained pretty quick. Deadpool then comments, "Is it the Phantom Stenographer? What are they holding?" Batman and Deadpool then approach the guy as we simultaneously see that he's on some kind of like old laptop and using it to write what appears to be a script. Batman then says, "It's one of the most dangerous objects in existence. My image of it hidden behind a mental firewall Cassandra couldn't breach. All those clues in the form of keys. The weapon is a cosmic keyboard, rumored to rewrite reality." And on the next page, as Batman continues to say, "Lost when a minor villain known as the Writer was killed during a disastrous Suicide Squad mission," we see that this dude is typing everything that he's saying into this keyboard. Batman continues, "Victor Gover, aka Sportsmaster, was there that day on that mission. 3 days ago, his fiancée was caught in crossfire when Victor's knowledge became valuable to some ruthless people." The mystery man then says, "Smooth exposition. I can handle the rest." And on the next panel, we see that the writer is Grant Morrison himself. That's right, Grant Morrison wrote himself into his own story, doing a little fourth wall breaking himself if you want to look at it that way. But the writer then tells the two of them, "That's the Batman of Earth 7642 at my feet, by the way. You were plotted into Earth 7642 continuity by this old thing. This relic is the MacGuffin everyone's chasing." Batman and Deadpool are still standing guard as Batman says, "Figured as much." But Deadpool's a little more animated, so he replies, "Not the cosmic keytar. Holy crap, Batman. If that thing falls into the wrong hands, it could usher in a nightmare era of Jan Hammer 80s inspired soft rock tyranny." He then turns to Batman and says, "So wait, rewind. You're what? A way cooler, tougher, sexier Batman than Earth 7642 flat out on his cape there? But Batman just skips over what Deadpool's saying and says, we can't let it fall into her hands. But Grant Morrison's character, the writer, just responds by saying, it won't run for Cassandra Nova or anyone else. Only me. And even then, it'll never rewrite canon again. If it works at all, maybe we could use it to wrap up this adventure and find out what happens next. He then says, Batman, check. Deadpool, check. Villain, check. Guest? We could probably use a twist around about, followed by Cassandra appearing behind him and digging her hands into the writer's skull. She then attempts to take control of the writer and the cosmic keyboard while saying, see, the thing is, I don't need to make the device work. I'll just dictate and you'll do as you're told. For Batman and Deadpool, time stretched to a standstill as we see the keyboard begin to type the same. Cassandra then laughs and says, next you're going to write them as cannibal flesh addicts. Turn them loose on their loved ones. We'll write a horror story, you and I, together, where the monsters win. But at that moment, the writer smirks and says, horror? You want horror? Take a look. A shocked Cassandra then replies, no, wait, that's impossible. The writer asks, is it? What if you didn't just appear out of nowhere? What if you were made up on a machine like this one? Cassandra then starts to freak out while saying, that can't be. But the writer just responds, all out of ideas, Cassandra Nova? Writer's block? She then begins to grasp reality, saying, you made me this way? And the writer responds, they say it happens now and again. Do you want to see what it looks like when I run out of ideas? You broke the bat. You peed on the pool. Now face the music. And as we see Eternity and Kismet, let's just say, joining forces, on the next panel, we see that Batman and Deadpool have merged to create Deadbat, and this is freaking amazing. It's Batman Deadpool wielding a massive katana, and he uses it to lob the head off of Cassandra Nova. Yes, we only get this amalgamation for a single panel, but it is amazing nonetheless. Honestly, I think it's the second best highlight of this entire story. Only second to the reappearance of Darkclaw, but that's probably just my bias. Either way, I hope Deadbat reemerges at some point in the future because it's just too good to make a one and done. Anyway, on the next page, we see that Deadpool has Cassandra Nova's head in a jar as she's just bumbling nonsense to herself. We also see that Batman and Deadpool have now fully separated and they're on two different sides of a chasm while their two worlds separate, with Deadpool saying she'll live again, she always does. But for now, my work is done. When Earth 7642 Batman finally comes to, I'll be sure to tell him how much I'll treasure my mostly imaginary team up with the real thing. To which Batman responds, give him my regards. But Deadpool, recognizing Batman's sarcasm, replies, it may have been mid to you, but we've shared memories I'll savor again and again alone in the dark. Sayonara, Dark Moon, Hawk Owl. We then cut to just outside the fortress where the writer approaches Batman and says, whatever unknown cosmic conjunction triggered the keyboard, it's over. Anyway, the president signed an executive order. They're rebuilding the fourth wall to keep out unwanted ideas, so I can't hang around. I only showed up to grab a souvenir in case I don't get back. Batman, confused, just tells him, I have no idea what you're talking about. But Damian, who's equally confused about what's going on, walks up and starts to tell his dad, she got away. She got a head start and what? But just as Grant Morrison / the writer starts to walk away, Batman grabs his arm and says, before you go, you said you can't rewrite canon with that thing. What can you do? We then see narration from the cosmic keyboard that says, with a final ethereal sigh as of angels expressing general satisfaction tinged with mild disappointment, two universes parted, followed by a full page showing Eternity and Kismet now separated and on their cosmic iPhones after what appears to have been just a one-night stand. But the narration from the keyboard goes on to say there was a little way to go yet, and all roads led to Gotham. As we return to Gotham City and the home of Victor Gover, and as we see Victor pour another drink with a gun in his hand, he starts to hear music, followed by his fiance walking in the room and Victor running to her, revealing what it was that Batman wanted the writer to add to the story. As we see Batman watching their reunion from the roof above while saying, happy holidays. And with that, my friends, this story comes to the end. This one was just another blast. I think I might have liked this one better than the first one, but again, that's probably my bias about Darkclaw's reemergence in this story. I just love the Amalgam universe. Yes, not everything that came out of the Amalgam universe was a keeper, but Darkclaw was one of the cooler things to come out of those stories. And I gotta tell you, I would not be mad to see a reemergence of Dr. Strange Fate at some point. Anyway, let us know what you guys thought of this story in the comments below, and we will see you next time when we talk about all things comics.